Hi everyone. The purpose of this session is to explain to you what you need to do for assignment 1, which is the literature review. This assessment is worth 50% of your total module marks, so it's well worth trying to get as high a grade as you can. This assessment is very straightforward, and there's every possibility that you'll do very, very well in it because it's so straightforward, and because it also allows you to begin to think about the second assessment, which is your personal journey of place. So getting back to the requirements of this first assessment, the literature review, let me just take you through what is involved. So I want to cover what the task itself actually is and make sure that everyone's clear as to what is required of them. And then what you need to do to progress your assignment from the end of this presentation from myself. Bearing in mind that we'll be in touch, consistently throughout the module, and I and other module tutors will be helping you to develop your best work during the course of the weeks and months that lie ahead. So let's have a little look at what we're asking you to do. So you're required to write a literature review of place as concept. Now, you'll know that place itself is subjective. It's something which is explored in a wide range of scholarship across a range of disciplines, from geography to sociology, to economics, to politics, to urban planning, to psychology, to literature, and so on. So what we want you to do is to look at some of these key theories that are related to place. Now, we will be covering this during the course of the module, and in fact there's a lecture which I will make available to you early so as that you can critically evaluate its contents, and that lecture focuses specifically on place as concept. So there's some very key seminal citations in there which will get you off to a really cracking start. So your literature review needs to be written in 2 sections, pretty much. So the first thing is a detailed analysis of place as a theoretical concept as defined in a range of different academic sources. And in that section 1, we want you to be critical as in analytical, looking at the things that you're reading, seeing if they have any validity, being really sort of reflective over the contents of the things that you're reading. And the second component of the literature review is for you to talk about a particular place type. So having explored place generally in the first part of the literature review, you'll be sort of coning it down to a particular place type. So think about, this could be any place type. But I think what's important to flag at this juncture is a place type that is important to you, that is special to you, that speaks to you for whatever reason that might be. And I've just highlighted some examples of some place types that you could think about. A sporting place, for example, football stadium, tennis court or tennis club, a rugby stadium. It could be ice skating rink. It could be, there's a wide range of places that you could choose for sporting. Sacred places, they can mean a whole raft of different things, ranging from sort of spiritual places to places that are branded as such as being sacred, churches, monasteries, cemeteries. Landscapes can also be sacred, and we'll be exploring that during the course of the module. They can be therapeutic places. Virtual places, if there's a virtual place where you feel comfortable or is special to you or captivates you, you might want to focus on that as your special place type. You might want to look at a neighborhood or a locality as place. So that's a really interesting one. And again, there's lots of really interesting literature on that. You might want to look at home, and we've begun to kind of explore some key issues around home as place. So that might be worth having a thought about. Music is a particular place to many people, and that might be something that strikes a chord with you. So you might want to think about a particular, piece of music that you like that transports you into a different place. You might want to think about somewhere, maybe an album that you really like, or a gig that you've been to, or a festival that you've been to. So there's different things you could think about, about music. You could think about a TV series that you really like. You can also think about imagined places, places that we have in our minds that may be a kind of throwback to the past, but we may have reconstituted them in our own minds. And that's really interesting. And I'm absolutely open to suggestions around place type, because this will be a unique experience for you personally. So do have a think about that. The assignment is due in early February, and I will tell you exactly when that date is, and obviously that will be available on the Blackboard site as well. So to summarize, the literature review comprises two different sections. There's an analysis of place as a theoretical concept, but there's also you kind of bearing down on a particular place type, whether it's sporting, sacred, virtual, whatever it might be. So as that your mind's not pre-coded too much, I think it would be really, really helpful for everyone to have a think about a particular place type where they've just felt that's been really special to them, because that will really help you, I think, in producing not just this assessment, but also the second assignment linked to this module, the personal journey of place. So let's look at this in a little more detail. Okay, so like every assignment, you need to have an introduction. Now, most people find this easier to write at the end, and I'm very happy with that. The one thing that I would say in the introduction is to, it's really helpful to signpost the reader to give a sense of what you're going to cover in the course of the remaining words that you have. So a kind of heads up on what lies within the assignment itself. And as we've covered before, an in-depth analysis of place as concept. Now, I want you to be really theoretical here, okay? Drawing on quality academic literature, okay? So do read critical, do annotate, print things out, any articles that you find really helpful, so as you can interrogate them really, really closely. And the second part of that is a particular place type. So whether it's, as I mentioned before, it could be a spiritual place, a sporting place. I flagged up a couple of other ones here. It could be a tourist place. It could be a memorial site. It could be an imagined place. There's a whole range of ones to choose from. But yes, think of something that's somewhere that's special to you. And then, I'm sure that'll give you a really good basis from which you can work. There is a third element to this assignment, which is we've asked you to think about what we've called here the prevailing narratives of place and how they impact on policy decisions which are pertinent to your place type. Now, by narratives of place, we'll just deconstruct that slightly. Prevailing tends to mean, overarching, dominant, the overarching narratives of place. But think about, what is it that they actually mean? To what extent does your place type have any ethical considerations or political considerations, economic considerations? What is it that it actually says? And I mean, by way of example, let's take, for example, the Peak District National Park. So the Peak District National Park is a protected area. It's somewhere that has great historical and kind of heritage connotations to us. But there's a kind of ethical issue of, whether, how much of that should be preserved or should be conserved, bearing in mind the huge pressures that we're on to, provide affordable homes for people. But then, the importance of green space in terms of quality of life and good physical and mental well-being. So that's just one example. Another example might be for, let's have a think, you could do something on Ground Zero, for example, as a memorial site, the huge kind of ethical and political and cultural issues that 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 encompasses, and whether indeed, you know, is it ethical to make somewhere profitable that was the site of a tragedy? Auschwitz is another really good example of that. That's become, you know, somewhere that's well trodden on the tourist trail, but to what extent, you know, are there ethical, political, cultural issues involved with visiting Auschwitz? So yeah, so just to give you a sense of the requirements of this first assessment, I hope that that's been helpful. Just to summarize, the two main components of this first assessment are a comprehensive review of theories of place as concept, drawing on a wide range of literature. And the second component is you thinking of a particular place type and then writing about that as well in the literature review. There is this third element, which is what we've called the prevailing narratives of place, these overarching stories. What is it that your place type actually means? You know, what implications does it have for people in real life? And to help you to frame that, I've suggested you look at the ethical, the political, the cultural, the social, and economic issues. You may not look at all of them equally, but you may look at some more than others. So in terms of the marking for the assessment, the introduction is worth 40%. The in-depth analyses of place generally and then a place type is also worth 40%. And then this prevailing narratives section, relatively short, 20%. And then of course you'll need a conclusion as well. So I hope that that's been helpful. We will be coming back to this during the course of the module, but I think it's really helpful to think about what you need to be doing from this point onwards. So begin to read about theories of place. And as I mentioned earlier, I will make that lecture available to you because there's some very seminal writing that you're going to want to look at as soon as you can. And just to begin to absorb that, you might well have covered this previously. And then begin to think about a particular place type that's special to you. And let your imagination run riot with this, because this is where you can get really creative. You know, have a chat with me. You know, we can arrange a telephone call, a Zoom meeting, email exchange, whatever works for you. But over the course of the module, I'll be asking you to kind of firm up what your place type is, because that links into the second assessment, the personal journey. And yeah, assignment development is something that we'll be coming back to quite extensively during the weeks and months that we have ahead. So I hope that that makes good sense. Do begin to read and do begin to have a think about your special place type. So until next time, I hope that's been helpful and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.